Narrated Ibn Abbas. The first lady to use a girdle was the mother of Ismail. She used a girdle so that she might hide her tracks from Sarah. Abraham brought her and her son Ismail while she was suckling him to a place near the Kaaba, under a tree on the spot of Zamzam at the highest place in the mosque. During those days there was nobody in Mecca, nor was there any water, so he made them sit over there and placed near them a leather bag containing some dates and a small water skin containing some water, and set out homeward. Ismail's mother followed him, saying, O Abraham, where are you going, leaving us in this valley where there is no person whose company we may enjoy, nor is there anything to enjoy? She repeated that to him many times, but he did not look back at her. Then she asked him, Has Allah ordered you to do so? He said yes. She said, Then he will not neglect us, and returned while Abraham proceeded onwards. And on reaching the Thaniya, where they could not see him, he faced the Kaaba and raising both hands invoked Allah, saying the following prayers. O our Lord, I have made some of my offspring dwell in a valley without cultivation by your sacred house, Kaaba at Mecca, in order, O our Lord, that they may offer prayer perfectly. So fill some hearts among men with love towards them, and O Allah, provide them with fruits so that they may give thanks. Ismail's mother went on suckling Ismail and drinking from the water she had. When the water in the water skin had all been used up, she became thirsty, and her child also became thirsty. She started looking at him, i.e. Ismail, tossing in agony. She left him, for she could not endure looking at him, and found that the mountain of Safa was the nearest mountain to her. On that land, she stood on it and started looking at the valley keenly, so that she might see somebody, but she could not see anybody. Then she descended from Safa, and when she reached the valley, she tucked up her robe and ran in the valley like a person in distress and trouble, till she crossed the valley and reached the Marwa mountain, where she stood and started looking, expecting to see somebody, but she could not see anybody. She repeated that, running between Safa and Marwa 7 times. The Prophet said, This is the source of the tradition of the walking of people between them, i.e. Safa and Marwa. When she reached the Marwa for the last time, she heard a voice, and she asked herself to be quiet and listened attentively. She heard the voice again and said, Oh, whoever you may be, you have made me hear your voice. Have you got something to help me? And behold, she saw an angel at the place of Zamzam, digging the earth with his heel or his wing, till water flowed from that place. She started to make something like a basin around it, using her hand in this way, and started filling her water skin with water with her hands, and the water was flowing out after she had scooped some of it. The Prophet added, May Allah bestow mercy on Ismail's mother. Had she let the Zamzam flow without trying to control it, or had she not scooped from that water to fill her water skin, Zamzam would have been a stream flowing on the surface of the earth. The Prophet further added, then she drank water and suckled her child. The angel said to her, don't be afraid of being neglected, for this is the house of Allah, which will be built by this boy and his father, and Allah never neglects his people. The house Ikba at that time was on a high place resembling a hillock, and when torrents came, they flowed to its right and left. She lived in that way till some people from the tribe of Juram, or a family from Juram, passed by her and her child as they, i.e. the Juram people, were coming through the way of Qada. They landed in the lower part of Mecca, where they saw a bird that had the habit of flying around water and not leaving it. They said, this bird must be flying around water, though we know that there is no water in this valley. They sent one or two messengers who discovered the source of water and returned to inform them of the water. So they all came towards the water. The Prophet added, Ismail's mother was sitting near the water. They asked her, do you allow us to stay with you? She replied, yes, but you will have no right to possess the water. They agreed to that. The Prophet further said, Ishmael's mother was pleased with the whole situation, as she used to love to enjoy the company of the people. So they settled there, and later on they sent for their families, who came and settled with them, so that some families became permanent residents there. The child, i.e. Ismail, grew up and learnt Arabic from them, and his virtues caused them to love and admire him as he grew up, and when he reached the age of puberty, they made him marry a woman from amongst them. After Ismail's mother had died, Abraham came after Ishmael's marriage in order to see his family that he had left before, but he did not find Ishmael there. When he asked Ishmael's wife about him, she replied, he has gone in search of our livelihood. Then he asked her about their way of living and their condition, and she replied, we are living in misery, we are living in hardship and destitution, complaining to him. He said, when your husband returns, convey my salutation to him and tell him to change the threshold of the gate of his house. When Ishmael came, he seemed to have felt something unusual, so he asked his wife, has anyone visited you? She replied, yes, an old man of so and so description came and asked me about you, and I informed him, and he asked about our state of living, and I told him that we were living in a hardship and poverty. On that, Ismail said, did he advise you anything? She replied, yes, he told me to convey his salutation to you and to tell you to change the threshold of your gate. Ismail said, it was my father, and he has ordered me to divorce you. Go back to your family. So Ismail divorced her and married another woman from amongst them, i.e. Juram. Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished, and called on them again, but did not find Ismail. So he came to Ismail's wife and asked her about Ismail. She said, he has gone in search of our livelihood. Abraham asked her, how are you getting on, asking her about their sustenance and living. She replied, we are prosperous and well off, i.e. we have everything in abundance. Then she thanked Allah. Abraham said, what kind of food do you eat? She said. Meat. He said. What do you drink? She said. Water. He said, O Allah, bless their meat and water. The Prophet added at that time they did not have grain. And if they had grain, he would have also invoked Allah to bless it. The Prophet added, if somebody has only these two things as his sustenance, his health and disposition will be badly affected unless he lives in Mecca. The Prophet added. Then Abraham said, Ismail's wife, when your husband comes, give my regards to him, and tell him that he should keep firm the threshold of his gate. When Ishmael came back, he asked his wife, did anyone call on you? She replied, yes, a good-looking old man came to me, so she praised him and added, he asked about you, and I informed him, and he asked about our livelihood, and I told him that we were in a good condition. Ismail asked her, did he give you any piece of advice? She said, yes, he told me to give his regards to you and ordered that you should keep firm the threshold of your gate. On that Ismail said, it was my father, and you are the threshold of the gate. He has ordered me to keep you with me. Then Abraham stayed away from them for a period as long as Allah wished, and called on them afterwards. He saw Ishmael under a tree near Zamzam sharpening his arrows. When he saw Abraham, he rose up to welcome him, and they greeted each other as a father does with his son, or a son does with his father. Abraham said, O Ismail, Allah has given me an order. Ismail said, do what your Lord has ordered you to do. Abraham asked, will you help me? Ismail said, I will help you. Abraham said, Allah has ordered me to build a house here, pointing to a hillock higher than the land surrounding it. The Prophet added, then they raised the foundations of the house, i.e., the Kaaba. Ishmael brought the stones and Abraham was building, and when the walls became high, Ishmael brought this stone and put it for Abraham, who stood over it and carried on building while Ishmael was handing him the stones, and both of them were saying, O our Lord, accept this service from us, verily you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. The Prophet added, then both of them went on building and going round the Kaaba, saying, O our Lord, accept this service from us, verily you are the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Sahi Bukhari number 3364. The Book of the Stories of the Prophets. Status Sahi.